Almost 2,000 years ago, a Roman statesman named Seneca sat down to write a letter to a friend named Paulinus. Paulinus, like so many people before and since, had been saying something very ordinary, that life is too short, that there's never enough time, that we're handed such a brief stretch of years, and it slips away before we've had the chance to do anything meaningful with it. Seneca disagreed, not about the feeling, he understood the feeling completely, but about the reason behind it. He didn't believe our lives were actually short. He believed we simply spend them badly. Think, he said, about how much time we hand away without a second thought. Hours spent worrying about things we cannot change. Days spent chasing the approval of people whose opinions won't matter to us in a year. Whole seasons spent in restless distraction, moving from one small errand to the next, never quite arriving anywhere, never quite resting either. None of that time disappears by accident. We give it away. Quietly, willingly, one small distraction at a time. He compared it to a man who owns a large estate but never notices because he never bothers to walk its boundaries. He assumes he has little, simply because he's never taken stock of what's actually his. Life is like that estate, Seneca thought, vast enough if only we learn to walk its edges and see what we actually hold. Seneca was especially suspicious of busyness. Not hard work itself, he respected that, but the particular kind of busyness that keeps a person in constant motion without ever asking why. He wrote about men who filled every hour of everyday meetings, obligations, favors owed and favors collected, and who somehow, despite all that motion, never once stopped to ask whether any of it was actually worth doing. They were, he said, so occupied with living that they forgot to actually live. He had a particular sympathy for people nearing the end of their lives who suddenly noticed, almost with panic, how little of their time had actually belonged to them. Not because they were lazy. Often the opposite, they had been endlessly active, endlessly in demand, endlessly useful to everyone except themselves. And only at the very end, when there was no time left to fix it, did they realize how much of their life had been spent serving other people's urgent, forgettable demands, rather than their own quiet, lasting ones. He didn't want that regret for his friend. And he doesn't want it for us either, all these centuries later. Seneca drew a sharp line between being alive and truly living. Being alive, he said, is easy. The body carries on, the days pass, the calendar fills. Living, in his sense, meant something quieter and rarer, actually inhabiting your own days. Noticing them. Choosing them, rather than simply surviving them one after another until they run out. One of Seneca's sharper observations was this: we're remarkably careful with our money and remarkably careless with our time. If a stranger asked to borrow your savings, you'd want to know why, for how long, and what they intended to do with it. Yet we hand our time, our actual, unrepeatable hours, to almost anyone who asks. A demanding acquaintance. An argument we didn't need to have. A worry that accomplishes nothing except keeping us awake. He thought this was strange, given that time is the one thing we can never earn back. Money lost can be replaced. An hour lost is simply gone, forever, the moment it passes. So he urged his friend, and through him, all of us, to start guarding our attention the way we'd guard something we actually valued. He also had gentle criticism for those who kept postponing their real life to some future date. Once I retire, they'd say. Once this project is finished. Once things settle down, then I'll finally rest, finally think, finally live the way I actually want to. Seneca thought this was one of the great quiet tragedies he witnessed again and again. Intelligent, capable people, spending their entire present moment in service of some imagined future one, which had a troubling habit of never quite arriving on schedule. The future, he reminded his friend, is not owed to any of us. Only this current, narrow, actual moment is truly held in our hands. Everything else is a hope, not a possession. Toward the heart of his letter, Seneca turned to something gentler, not just criticism of wasted time, but a genuine vision of what a full life could look like. He believed the fullest lives weren't necessarily the longest, or the busiest, or even the most accomplished by the usual measures. They belonged, instead, to people who had learned to step back from the noise occasionally, to think, to reflect, to spend unhurried time with their own thoughts, and with the wisdom left behind by those who came before them. He found particular comfort in the idea that we can, in a sense, extend our own brief lives by keeping close company with great minds of the past, reading their reflections, sitting with their questions, letting their slow, careful thinking become part of our own. In this way, he thought, a single short life could quietly borrow from centuries of accumulated understanding, and feel, in its own quiet way, much larger than its actual years. He closed his letter with something close to tenderness, beneath all his sharpness. He wasn't scolding his friend out of coldness. He was hoping, quite plainly, that Paulinus and anyone else who ever read these words might stop waiting for permission to actually inhabit their own life. Not someday. Not once things settle. Now, in whatever quiet or ordinary moment this happens to be. So perhaps that's the thought worth carrying with you tonight as you let this day finally go. Life isn't short. We simply have to learn, gently and patiently, not to spend it carelessly. And for tonight, at least, there's nothing left to spend. Only this resting, breathing, letting go, which is, in its own small way, exactly the kind of moment Seneca hoped we'd learn to notice.